From the moment Tyrion Lannister bent the knee to Daenerys Targaryen in Game of Thrones, fans sensed something extraordinary. Tyrion, the cleverest mind in Westeros, had always survived by reading people, calculating risks, and staying one step ahead. Daenerys, on the other hand, carried the weight of destiny, commanding 3 dragons and an army loyal to her cause. Together, they seemed unstoppable. Yet by the end of the series, King's Landing lay in ruins, Daenerys was dead, and Tyrion faced accusations of treason. The question that haunts fans to this day is simple yet complex. Was Tyrion responsible for Daenerys' downfall? To answer this, we must look carefully at the events that unfolded, Tyrion's decisions, and Daenerys' evolving character. When Tyrion first arrived in Meereen, Daenerys was already a conqueror. She had freed slaves, claimed cities, and commanded an army of Unsullied and Dothraki. But ruling a city was different from conquering one. Her cities were unstable. Her people were divided. Her dragons, powerful as they were, caused fear and destruction. Tyrion stepped in as an advisor because he understood politics and compromise, something Daenerys had little experience with. He offered counsel aimed at stabilizing Meereen, guiding her toward diplomacy instead of terror. His strategies worked, but they were not perfect, and his misjudgments would follow them to Westeros. One of Tyrion's greatest strengths was his ability to see beyond brute force. In Meereen, he often advocated for negotiation over slaughter. When Daenerys wanted to punish enemies harshly, he reminded her of the long-term consequences. Tyrion believed in mercy as a tool of power. But in Westeros, mercy is often mistaken for weakness. Tyrion's reliance on diplomacy assumed people would act rationally or in good faith, a dangerous assumption when dealing with someone like Cersei Lannister. Even Tyrion underestimated the ruthlessness of his sister and the political complexities of a continent shaped by centuries of war and ambition. When Daenerys finally sailed for Westeros, she arrived with immense power. She commanded 3 dragons, a disciplined army of Unsullied, the ferocious Dothraki, and the support of allied houses in the south. On paper, she could take the Iron Throne quickly. Yet Tyrion advised caution. He urged her to seek alliances, negotiate, and win the people's hearts. He feared that if she attacked King's Landing directly, she would be seen as a foreign tyrant, burning the city rather than liberating it. His advice, meant to temper her fire, instead slowed her campaign and created the conditions that would later lead to chaos. Tyrion's cautious approach relied heavily on the loyalty of Westerosi houses. But alliances crumbled faster than expected. Highgarden fell to Cersei's forces. Dorne did not mobilize effectively. The Iron Fleet ambushed Daenerys' ships. Tyrion's calculations assumed others would act rationally and honor agreements, but Westeros had always been a land of betrayal. These failures were partly due to Tyrion's misjudgments. He trusted Cersei, hoping she would yield for the greater good, yet she remained as cruel and self-serving as ever. Tyrion's optimism, a trait that had saved him in King's Landing before, now contributed to the unraveling of Daenerys' plans. Meanwhile, Tyrion's focus on diplomacy often conflicted with Daenerys' desire for decisive action. When Jon Snow, representing the North, insisted on focusing first on the Night King, Tyrion supported this strategy. From a logical standpoint, it made sense. The dead threatened all of humanity. But this decision came at a cost. Daenerys sacrificed much in the North. She lost a dragon, Viserion, to the Night King. Her army endured brutal battles. By the time she returned south, her resources and morale were weakened. Her closest allies had fallen. Each loss chipped away at the stabilizing influences around her, leaving her increasingly isolated. Tyrion, as ever, tried to counsel restraint. He advised mercy, compromise, and measured action. He pleaded with Daenerys not to destroy cities unnecessarily and tried to convince her that fear alone would not secure loyalty. He released Jaime Lannister from captivity, hoping he could persuade Cersei to surrender, and warned Daenerys that mass destruction would turn Westeros against her. But Daenerys was already feeling isolated, betrayed, and pressured. Tyrion's cautious strategies, though wise in theory, could not prevent her emotional spiral toward vengeance and extreme measures. By the time they reached King's Landing, the stage was set for tragedy. Tyrion advised waiting, tried to orchestrate peaceful surrenders, and emphasized the symbolic power of mercy. But Daenerys, surrounded by the wreckage of her campaigns and the deaths of those she loved, could no longer see mercy as a strength. Her isolation, compounded by political failures and betrayals, transformed her from a liberator into a figure of fear. Tyrion did not order the destruction, but his miscalculations helped create a world in which Daenerys felt compelled to act as she did. Some argue that Daenerys' fate was already sealed long before Tyrion arrived. Throughout the series, she had shown a pattern of extreme justice. She executed the Tarlys for refusing to bend the knee. She crucified slave masters in Meereen. She often spoke of destiny and fire as tools to achieve her ends. Tyrion's influence had delayed these tendencies. His counsel often saved lives and prevented premature acts of destruction. Without Tyrion, her rise might have been swifter but even bloodier. In this sense, Tyrion may have been more of a restraining force than a cause of her downfall. Yet Tyrion's errors were significant. His trust in others, like Cersei, Varys, and even Jon Snow, sometimes blinded him to danger. When Varys plotted to replace Daenerys with Jon, Tyrion exposed him, believing it would protect her. But this action, though morally sound, further isolated Daenerys and intensified her growing distrust. Tyrion's loyalty and hope in her goodness became weaknesses. He believed the queen he served could be guided toward wisdom, yet the political and emotional pressures around her had already reshaped her vision. The final attack on King's Landing revealed the culmination of these events. Tyrion begged Daenerys to accept surrender if the city rang its bells, to spare innocents if possible. He released Jaime, hoping for a peaceful resolution. Yet when the bells rang, Daenerys did the unthinkable. She burned the city, killing thousands, including civilians. Tyrion's failure was not in instructing her to destroy King's Landing. He did the opposite. His mistake lay in misjudging the circumstances, overestimating the loyalty of allies, and underestimating the emotional toll of isolation, loss, and betrayal on Daenerys' psyche. By the end, Tyrion faced a harsh reality. He realized that his belief in Daenerys had blinded him. Standing before Jon Snow, he admitted his errors and took responsibility for supporting her rise. Yet his final act, convincing Jon to stop her, demonstrates the complexity of his role. He did not directly cause her downfall, but his guidance, misjudgments, and loyalties contributed to the environment that allowed it to happen. Tyrion's tragedy lies in the tension between intellect and morality. He could see the consequences but was often powerless to prevent them because he underestimated the forces of destiny, emotion, and history converging around Daenerys. Responsibility in Westeros is never singular. Cersei's cruelty, Jon Snow's heritage, the North's rejection of Daenerys, and the deaths of her closest friends all played a role. Daenerys' own choices, shaped by personal loss and a sense of destiny, were the largest factor. Tyrion was part of the chain of events, but not the sole cause. He attempted to mediate, to advise, and to temper fire with reason. He believed that intelligence and loyalty could guide a dragon queen to greatness. Westeros, however, is unforgiving. Hope is fragile. Even the smartest can misjudge the currents of power and human emotion. In conclusion, Tyrion's involvement in Daenerys' downfall is complex. He was neither innocent nor fully responsible. He made critical miscalculations, misread alliances, and trusted the wrong people. He advised caution when courage was demanded and sought mercy where fear prevailed. Yet he also restrained Daenerys' worst impulses for years, delaying destruction and saving countless lives. His tragedy is the eternal conflict between idealism and reality. He believed in the queen more than the world around her allowed. The story of Tyrion Lannister is ultimately heartbreaking because it demonstrates that intelligence alone cannot prevent catastrophe. Even the cleverest, most thoughtful strategist is vulnerable to forces beyond their control: human emotion, loyalty, betrayal, and destiny. Tyrion tried to guide a dragon queen toward mercy and wisdom in a world built on fire, blood, and ambition. In the end, his hope became both his strength and his failure. Daenerys' downfall was the result of many converging forces, and Tyrion was part of that current. He did not light the fire, but he did fail to stop it, proving that even the smartest man in Westeros cannot always control the dragon he serves. And that brings us to the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and we will see you in the next one.